Hi, I am Professor Orion, and I will be your facilitator for the Orion Learning Safety Management Systems course, otherwise known as SMS, along with Professor Learning.
Hi everyone, I am Professor Learning. As you are aware, the aviation industry has evolved over the years, and not only does it have the highest safety standards, but also follows a continuous process of improvement in air safety.
Today, we shall focus attention on safety in the airline industry and shall learn the following. What is safety? Why accidents happen? How organizations are responsible for safety and safety culture? The importance of human factors in safety. How does the culture impact safety? The rationale for safety management. Understanding hazards, hazard identification and analysis, risk management.
Our first module deals with the concept of safety. Shall we first start with defining what we mean by safety, Professor?
Well, safety is defined as a state or condition in which the risk of harm to persons or property damage is reduced to and maintained at or below an acceptable level through a continuing process of hazard identification and risk management.
That sounds really complicated, Professor. Is there a way of simplifying this?
Of course, Professor. Let us look at this through an example. Let us look at the process of refueling of an aircraft. In a refueling scenario, there is an inherent hazard because fuel is highly inflammable. The risk is that there could be a spark that would result in a fire that would destroy aircraft and other equipment and take lives. Safety is the process of identifying the various factors that could increase the chances of a fire and taking steps to ensure that those factors are taken care of and a fire does not break out. In this case, the safety condition is a complete ban on smoking and use of mobile phones on the airside, precautions of keeping sawdust at hand to put on any leaked fuel, and ensuring that the aircraft and fuel bowser are grounded through a bonding wire to prevent sparks from static electricity that could result in a fire.
That made things very clear, Professor. But there is an important part in this definition, which we still need to talk about, which is the concept of acceptable level of risk. The easiest example of this would be changing a domestic gas cylinder. Although domestic fuel is potentially explosive, it is acceptable to have electrical appliances on at home during a cylinder change. However, such activities are not acceptable in an airside environment, even when refueling is not in progress.
A word of caution here. We need to remember that safety is a condition and is therefore subject to change. Any changes in the environment would automatically require a relook at safety conditions. As we witnessed, airport security procedures have changed with changes in the environment, such as the occurrence of 9/11, which also holds true for safety in the history of the airline industry.
So, shall we take a quick tour through the evolution of the safety management process?
Yes, of course, Professor. As you are aware, in the early years of aviation, in the 1950s and 1960s, when accidents happened frequently, people believed that improvement in technology and focusing on technical reliability would be able to reduce the number of accidents.
And with the improvements in technology, when accidents still continue to happen, in the 1970s, the focus shifted to human factors and quality management, which had an emphasis on standardization and consistency.
But even that did not work, did it, Professor?
Unfortunately, it did not. Although quality management did reduce the number of accidents, they continued to occur.
Forced people to rethink accidents and safety. In 1996, the aviation industry looked at accident causation through the prism of James Reason's theory that accidents are not the result of a single factor, but a chain of events. Let us look at an example in this context. This man had forgotten to pay the electricity bill, which resulted in the power in his home being cut off. This resulted in his wife getting angry at him. When the man came to work, his supervisor noticed that he was in a bad mood, but did not give it any importance. The man's mind was disturbed by the fight and he did not concentrate on his job. He left behind a piece of equipment on the apron while he was carrying out routine maintenance. The equipment got sucked into the aircraft engine and resulted in the engine being destroyed.
Well, Professor, who would have imagined that a simple non-payment of a domestic bill would result in damage to a hugely expensive piece of equipment and put the lives of several passengers and crew at risk?
Yes, and that is exactly what Professor James Reason brought to the attention of the airline industry. He emphasized that people react to the same situation differently based on their thoughts, experiences, and state of mind.
The aviation environment now saw the advent of the organizational accident theory, wherein the entire organization is held responsible for any accident, or inversely the entire organization contributes to stoppage of an accident.
There has also been a drastic change in the way the aviation industry looks at safety from the earliest days to the current state of civil aviation.
What would you say is the biggest difference between the approaches to safety in the early days to present day?
The difference is in the questions asked insofar as accident investigation is concerned. In the early days, accident investigations looked for answers to what happened, when did it happen, and who is to blame. But today, investigations seek answers about how and why it happened, and ways and means of ensuring that it does not happen again. Today, investigation does not aim to penalize any one individual or assign blame, but is aimed at improvement of the aviation system.
We have been talking about a lot of theories and changes in the aviation industry that are focused on safety. But tell me, Professor, has this had any impact on aviation safety?
Yes, of course, Professor. From the 1950s, the continuous improvement of safety standards and processes has brought that number of aircraft crashes due to safety issues down to 1 in a million flights, and it is steadily improving.
Thank you for that interesting statistic, Professor. That brings us to the end of our first module, where we have learned what safety is, how it has evolved over the years, and how a transition from a fix-the-blame approach to a fix-the-problem approach has resulted in a substantial reduction in the number of aviation-related accidents and incidents.
Thank you.